Peer has two main scoring methods that are available to it, and in this video I wanted to explain each scoring method by way of an example. So if you go into scoring policies, you'll notice that the very first option that you can choose is the scoring method, and there are two scoring methods that you can choose from. So there's the teamwork mark and the moderated group mark, and I just wanted to briefly explain what each method actually does by way of example. The teamwork mark, or the average rating received, is the more straightforward method. So let's take an example. Imagine that you've got a group, and that group has 5 people in it. So we've got Aaron, Beata, Carly, Douglas, and Eric. And this is a spreadsheet showing their peer ratings. So in the columns, we've got the ratings that were received by each person. So, for example, this is the rating received by Aaron from Beata, and this is the rating received by Carly, from Beata, and so we're leaving out the self-ratings here. And of course the columns indicate that the person that provided the ratings. And imagine that they were involved in a team assignment, and they got a 7 out of 10 for the assignment, and so that was the mark. That was the team mark that each member of the team received for it, and that doesn't change. So in the average rating received method, or the teamwork mark, the peer mark is simply the average of rating received by the team members. So for instance, Aaron received an average rating of 1, Beata received an average rating of 3.5, Carly received an average rating of 5 because she obviously did very well. Daryl wasn't rated so well by his peers. He got a 1.5, and Eric was a pretty solid member, and he got a 4 out of 5. Now, the moderated marking method is a little bit more complicated, and here's how it works. So the moderated method scores people based on their relative rating that they received from their other peer members. Let me explain what I mean by this. So if we look down the columns, we can take the average rating given by each team member. So as we can see here, Aaron and Daryl were both relatively generous markers, because they gave their teammates an average of 3.5. Carly, on the other hand, probably was much more stringent a rater, because she only gave peers an average of 2.25. So she was a very strict marker, and Beata, she was probably around about somewhere in the middle, and as was Eric. Now, what I'm showing down here is relative to this average mark. How did each person actually perform according to that person's average? So for Aaron, who was a somewhat generous marker, Beata performed at about 86% of Aaron's average, whereas Carly, because she got a 5 out of 5, was 143% of Aaron's average, and Daryl was 57% of the average. On the other hand, if you take someone like Carly, who tended to give her peers very strict ratings, Aaron received, he got a 1, which is 44% of 2.25. Beata did a bit better, so her rating was 133% of 225, which I suppose was a little bit better than some of the other team members. And of course, Eric did very well out of Carly. So his rating, which is a 4, was 177% of 225. And then what we do to work out the moderated mark is that, of course, just like before, we take each person's average mark. So 36% for Aaron, 120% for Beata, 159% for Carly. And then, so we take those average marks that we've got based on the relative ratings, and then we multiply them by the team mark to get the person's final moderated mark. And so what that means is that if we actually add these marks together, they will actually add up to an average rating of 7, which of course is the group mark score, or actually, sorry, it will be 35 because it's divided by 5 people. So if I took the average there, it'll be 7. But of course, people are adjusted up or adjusted down based on the relative scores that they received. And this method, can be quite a good one from the point of view that some peer markers are stricter than other ones. And so this method actually accounts for the fact that some people are actually more generous in their ratings than other people. So that's basically the two methods that peer uses in order to calculate the peer marks, and each one of them has a slightly different way of doing it, and and it will give slightly different results. I quite like the first method. If I'm focused on each component of the peer evaluation, such as for instance, how well each of the students communicated. I tend to focus more on the second method if I'm focused more on the overall contribution of each team member to the to the group assignment, and how much on a relative basis that each one actually contributed.